The other thing I find from some New Zealand entrepreneurs is a bit of a reluctance to get others involved, particularly investors. My philosophy is, you're much better to own a smaller part of a hugely successful pie than the whole tiny pie. I think a purpose and a why for what you're doing, that's what will make you work your butt off, work harder than anybody else. That's what will help you inspire others. What motivated us was the desire to succeed together. Like we all were in it together and nobody wanted to let the team down. That's actually what became, I think, our biggest motivator. Ability to change your path is absolutely critical, especially today with the way that technology is impacting everything. You can start out with a business idea and 2 years later that may be completely obsolete, or something's come into the market that can give you a much bigger idea. You've got to put the right people together, the right skills, and then keep your eyes open for opportunity. I think great ideas come from looking around the world, seeing what others are doing. I think I get inspired when I travel, for example, because you get exposed to so many new people and opportunities. And then great ideas come from riffing with others. I don't think it happens with individuals. It happens with teams and groups of people where someone starts with something and someone adds and someone adds. When we created the culture of our company, it was a whole lot to do with myself and my co-founder, our core values. And I'm a true believer that that's what company culture should be. They should be authentically representative of the values of the founders and the leaders of that business. And then you try to take those core authentic values and turn them into something that's a real core strength. I talked to a lot of different New Zealand companies and I judged the New Zealand Innovation Awards a couple of years ago. And I was most excited to see companies that I felt like really hit on some core competencies for New Zealand, the kind of businesses I would never have seen coming out of Silicon Valley. So they were businesses that touched on agriculture or tourism or hunting or fishing. There was all kinds of really interesting stuff. Any business should be thinking about what's my advantage, because if you've got a good idea, there'll be 100 other people that will try to pursue it. If you don't have competition, then you have a bad idea. I know New Zealand has this idea of tall poppies. All I can say is New Zealand has embraced me in such a wonderful way, and I've felt nothing but appreciation and excitement about my success. And I really haven't felt any of that tall poppy, let's cut her down at all. So my own personal feeling is New Zealanders are happy and excited for other New Zealanders to do well in business and to do well on the world stage. And that's been really nice to be embraced in that way. Great things come from huge effort and hard work. So when I think of world class, I think of teams and people that have just worked their butt off to achieve something really big and really visionary and really game changing. I don't think it's all about completely killing yourself, but you do have to work pretty hard. It has to become your core absolute focus.
It means imaginative thinking, it means big thinking, it means new ideas. I think being based in Silicon Valley, it often comes back to new innovations in technology or big solutions to solving big world problems, but by thinking about them in really new and interesting ways. But it's also, when I think creativity, I also think the arts, and I think music, and I think theatre. There's really so many facets to creativity, but I guess in my life, I'm particularly exposed a lot to creativity as it relates to innovation and technology and new ideas and solving big world problems. I'm certain that creativity has always been really important in the business world, but I think it is becoming more important. I think it will become even more important. And part of that, I think, is that as machines and technology start to really take over a lot of the jobs that people have done, then I think it really comes down to what are our core and unique human skills. And to me, creativity is one of those. The other is your social skills, your emotional intelligence, I think is critical in the business environment. But as it relates to creativity, I think that's something that is unique to humans. I don't see that ever being, or certainly not in the near future, being outsourced to technology. So for me, if I were thinking about my child and what I'd like them to focus on and what I'd like them to be good at, I think if they had great emotional intelligence and were creative, then you're versatile enough to get any kind of really great and interesting job. I would actually value that much more over just pure intelligence, because I think we will be beaten in intelligence by machines. We already are. It's a while since I've been in the education system, so my understanding of how much focus there is on creativity, I would say, is I will see it once my child actually gets to school. But my sense is no, I do not think that there's enough focus on creativity. I think there's too much focus sort of traditional skills and passing tests and rote learning and these kind of things. Particularly, I now live in the United States. I think there's far too much emphasis on passing tests rather than people really pursuing what they're passionate about and thinking out of the box and building social skills and thinking creatively. I think those are foundational skills that'll take people so much further than whether they know their chemical table or their multiplication table or those sorts of things. I think play was a major part of our company and a very important part of our success. We had structured ways of engaging in play, so we had things that we had a quarterly hackathon where the whole company, you didn't have to be a software engineer, we'd spend 24 hours, everyone would stay up overnight and you'd do some kind of project, and all kinds of really creative things came out of that. We had our annual Wildfire Olympics, we had a talent show, but also spontaneous ways to play. So we had all of these fun areas with games, and there was the Wildfire Bar where all sorts of people, had a lot of fun there. And looking back at that, I think that was critical to creating a culture that was really fun and a culture where people collaborated across different departments. And I think that's essential to getting creativity, is getting out of your own little space and the people that think like you and interacting with others is really important. And then the other thing about play in the workforce, at least in the workplace at Wildfire, it created a fun environment. People enjoyed their jobs. And I think it's hard to be creative and successful if you don't like what you do. So for us, I don't think it was deliberate where we said, let's create a workplace that has lots of play. But as it turned out, we very much did that. And it was very, very important to our success, I think. Giving myself a chance to step back. I think it's really hard when you're in the weeds and you're stressed out and you're in the daily grind to be really creative. So giving yourself that time just to go for a walk, or for me, if I can get out into nature, I think that really helps my creative thinking. For some people it's meditation, but just giving yourself that chance to step back. But the other thing for me is exposing myself to new places, new people, new ideas. I think I'm creative and inspired a lot when I'm traveling, because I'm just exposed, being bombarded with all kinds of new ideas and new ways of doing things and new people. And what I find is it helps me make connections to other things that I've done. It reminds me of other things in my life and brings them forward, and you start making connections between different things versus when you're in your same old environment. I think, for me at least, I'm less likely to be creative. The internet has been so amazing in terms of enabling us wherever you live to get exposed to all kinds of new ideas, and that ought to really encourage creativity. But on the flip side, I think people can't tear themselves away from particularly their phones, and creativity has got to be a process of being exposed to new things and inspired by them, but also taking the time to synthesize and think about those and riff on those and meditate on those. And if you're constantly on your phone gathering new information, I don't think you're ever going to take it any further. You're just going to flood yourself with information, but you won't take it to those next creative steps. So I think it is a real problem for us, this attachment to technology. It's a huge benefit, but we've got to find ways to detach as well.